The Piri Reis map, the 1513 map that allegedly shows Antarctica. Piri Reis was an Ottoman admiral and cartographer who lived from approximately 1465 to 1553. In 1513, he completed a world map drawn on gazelle skin, only a fragment of which survives today. The map was lost after his death and rediscovered in 1929 during a renovation of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. The surviving fragment shows the Atlantic Ocean, the coasts of Europe and Africa, and the Americas. Its accuracy for 1513, just 21 years after Columbus, was immediately striking. Piri Reis himself wrote annotations explaining he compiled it from 20 source maps, some very ancient. The southern edge of the Piri Reis map shows a large landmass extending along the bottom. In 1960, historian Charles Hapgood published maps of the ancient sea kings, arguing this southern landmass accurately represented the Antarctic coastline as it would appear without its ice sheet. Hapgood proposed the source maps used had been made by an unknown advanced civilization when Antarctica was ice-free. Albert Einstein found the idea compelling enough to write a supportive foreword to an earlier Hapgood book about crustal displacement, the theoretical mechanism Hapgood proposed. Hapgood gained apparent support from a 1949 seismic survey of Antarctica that mapped the continent beneath its ice sheet. The resemblance between portions of that sub-ice map and the Piri Reis southern landmass seemed striking. The Strategic Air Command at Westover Air Force Base provided a formal cartographic analysis, finding the correlation notable. However, rigorous subsequent analysis found the comparison required significant manipulation of map projections and selective matching. The resemblance required the viewer to look selectively at the best matching portions, while ignoring the many portions that did not match. The mainstream cartographic explanation for the southern landmass is well supported. Medieval and Renaissance cartographers routinely depicted a large hypothetical southern continent called Terra Australis incognita, based on the ancient Greek philosophical argument that a large southern landmass must balance the northern continents. This convention was centuries old when Piri Reis worked. The southern portion of his map most likely represents a continuation of the South American coastline bent to fit the projection, merged with the traditional Terra Australis. This explains the shape without requiring any lost civilization. The Antarctica hypothesis has a fatal chronological problem. Hapgood proposed the source maps were made when Antarctica was ice-free, roughly 6,000 years ago. But paleoclimatic evidence shows Antarctica has been substantially ice-covered for at least 34 million years. Periods of reduced ice coverage did occur, but they were tens of millions of years before any human civilization. For the theory to work, humans would have needed to exist and create sophisticated cartography millions of years ago, a premise for which there is no evidence whatsoever. The genuine mystery of the Piri Reis map is the 20 source maps Piri Reis mentioned using. Pre-Columbian cartographic knowledge, the accumulated geographic understanding of anonymous sailors, fishermen, and traders in the centuries before the great European expeditions, is almost entirely lost. Portuguese and Basque fishermen were operating in the North Atlantic before Columbus, and their charts were closely guarded commercial secrets. Geographic knowledge of parts of the South Atlantic and Brazilian coastline may have accumulated through undocumented voyages. The Piri Reis map may preserve fragments of that lost knowledge. Piri Reis was executed by the Ottoman Sultan in 1553. His maps, books, and notes were scattered. The 1513 world map was forgotten for nearly 400 years, surviving only because it had been used as a folder for other documents in the palace archive. Other maps he made in 1528 survive in fragments. How many cartographic works he produced and what geographic knowledge they encoded is unknown. The fragment we have is a tiny and damaged window into his knowledge of the world, and through that window we can only see part of what he saw. The Piri Reis map does not show Antarctica. The specific claim that the southern landmass is an ice-free Antarctic coastline mapped by an ancient unknown civilization does not survive rigorous scrutiny. But the map is genuinely remarkable, a 1513 compilation of geographic knowledge from sources that cannot be identified, showing a world coming into focus through the accumulated knowledge of thousands of unnamed sailors. The real mystery is not what the map shows at the bottom, but what knowledge the 20 lost source maps contained, and where that knowledge originally came from.